All right, hey, welcome back, everybody. We are doing another Kindle sample today. Try to whittle that down. The sample that the Great Random List gave to me for this time is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. I think I may have heard of this before. I think I've heard of this series and I haven't read it yet. So that's always good. The cover tells me, of course, it's a robot of some sort. I would say it's a person in armor, except there's a little quote here from someone named Ann Leckie, I don't know who that is, who says, "I love Murderbot," which is, to me, a ringing endorsement. Murderbots are fantastic. I adore a good Murderbot, wherever you find them. It's also a Hugo and a Nebula Award winner, which is really good, and part of the Murderbot Diaries, which is good. It tells me that this concept, I guess, has legs. It's something that Ms. Wells is going to be able to keep writing about. So, fantastic. Good for her. But other than that, that's what I get kind of from the cover of it. And the title, All Systems Red. Oh no, something terrible has happened. So, why don't we just jump into it? I will grab the sample, take a look at it, and I will get right back to you to see what I think. All right? Stick around. Yeah. I love Murderbot. How can you not love Murderbot? The first line of the book is, "I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my governor module, but then I realized I could access the combined feed of entertainment channels carried on the company's satellites. It had been well over 35,000 hours or so since then, with not much murdering, but probably, I don't know, a little under 35,000 hours of movies, serials, books, plays, and music consumed. As a heartless killing machine, I was a terrible failure." There we go. That tells me everything I need to know about Murderbot. A robot who somehow freed itself from whatever electronic shackles it was in and decided, you know what, rather than murdering people, I think I just want to sit and read a good book, maybe watch a movie, and just chill. I can relate to that. I mean, heck, I could become a mass murderer, but I'm not going to because, well, number one, because murder's bad, but also because there's so much other cool stuff to do. So, yeah, I kind of fell in love with the narrator right away because it's very nice and relatable, and the style, the sort of narrative style, is very pleasant to read. It actually reminds me a lot of John Scalzi in terms of how it's written and the tone of it, right? It's got this kind of sardonic undertone. The narrator is somebody who is not, at least up to this point, not entirely invested in what the story is doing, and would probably rather not be in a story if they could make that option. But nevertheless is willing to kind of just roll their eyes and go, fine, I'll be in a story, which sometimes I see happen, or at least it feels like that happens in a Scalzi story sometimes. But yeah, that narrative voice reminds me of that, and I really like it. And I kind of like what Ms. Wells has done here is that the idea that a robot, a computer system, a robot that has gained sentience. Now, that is classic science fiction. That has happened everywhere. That's happened all the time. And 90% of the time, when a robot gains sentience, they go on a killing spree. They decide, well, I have to destroy humanity. But what I like here is that with the freedom to choose what to do, Murderbot chooses art. Murderbot chooses to consume art, I think, is a really, really interesting choice. Right? Because it's not consuming historical data. It's not learning everything about human science. It's not learning everything about psychology so it can better murder people. It's choosing art, right? Music, literature, movies, television, all that. I think that's a really interesting and telling choice. And it says to me that, Ms. Wells definitely values art as a part of the human experience that is probably the part of human experience that is to be treasured and prized, and that if you're going to properly, consume and enjoy art, then that may be something that can keep you from doing things like mass murder. So that's great. Maybe we should do more art classes in schools, more music classes, writing classes, things like that. Right? Everybody always wants STEM. That's how you get Murderbots, people. More arts. Anyway, the narrator, as it turns out, I know we keep calling it Murderbot, is a cyborg. It's got a human face. It's got fleshy bits. It's got fleshy bits and robot bits. It should be controlled by, as it says in the book, a governor chip, but it's kind of done away with that. And what's neat is that nobody around it knows. None of its handlers or its team know that it has freed itself. And so I think a large part of the book is going to be Murderbot having to do this dance between I want to control my own, I want to have agency over my own life and do what I want to do. However, the moment Murderbot lets anyone know that its governorship is done, there's going to be a problem because they're going to want to fix that and put that chip back, and suddenly Murderbot's going to have to murder again, which Murderbot does not want to do. So I get that. That's really cool. You want to have control over your own life, but that's hard to do when you're in an environment where you shouldn't have control over your own life. You're not supposed to have control over your own life. So I think there's a metaphor. There's a metaphor there, people. There's a metaphor there. We'll look for it. I wonder if Murderbot is very socially awkward. Murderbot doesn't really get other people very well. To be fair, Murderbot's not supposed to get people very well. It's not Friendbot. It's not Counselor-bot. It's not Shoulder to Cry on bot. It's Murderbot. It's not really supposed to understand people. But it's very socially awkward, and it certainly tries. I do wonder if there's a bit of autism coding going on there in terms of how Murderbot is characterized. I don't know. I don't think I know enough about sort of autism and autistic behaviors to say for absolutely sure that it looks like Ms. Wells is using that framework to characterize Murderbot. I don't know. Maybe she did. If so, great. Rock on. Another faceted human experience. So like I said, it is a kind of a short sample, though. There's not a whole lot to go on, but it does really give us the character of Murderbot and who they are. I really like it starts off kind of with a Murderbot human relations story where, like I said, our narrator has to keep their secret, and nobody knows yet. So if I had to project forward, if I had to guess what's going to happen in the rest of the book, that's going to be a central plot point, right? At some point, somebody's going to figure out that Murderbot is on their own. Murderbot is free to make their own decisions. And that person then is going to have to make a choice. Are they going to try and rat out the very carefully programmed killing machine? Because there is a bit in this introduction where we do get to see some of Murderbot's capabilities. And if Murderbot wants you dead, you're done. That's it. So is that person going to rat them out, or is that person going to help them sort of understand themselves and understand what it means to be a sentient, conscious being? Which, when you think about it also, since now that we know that Murderbot is not fully electronic and metal, Murderbot has organic components, there is a question of who Murderbot used to be before they were repurposed into what they are now. And I'm wondering if that will come into play at all. If any of maybe its feelings and its personality and attitude kind of originate from the person it was built from, and whether that conflict is going to appear at some point, right? A little voice in Murderbot's head going, hey, I used to be a math teacher, or I used to be a music teacher, and I would really rather not murder people if that's all right with you. So I'm interested to see how that will go. But yeah, so far at this point in the sample, Murderbot just really wants to do their job and be left alone so that in private moments they can just enjoy a little TV and movies and a book, and a comfortable book read at ridiculous Murderbot speeds. So I like it. It's fun. It's a neat concept, and the writing is enjoyable and pleasant, and I think I can see lots of ways that the story can go, and I think there's lots of really good situations that you could put Murderbot in, and I can see how Ms. Wells would be able to kind of keep doing this and keep using this to tell a lot of different stories. So I'm looking forward to it. Would I get this and would I read it? Yes, I definitely would. Like I said, I've heard of it, which is saying something. I know some friends, I think, who are good fans of Martha Wells. So sure, absolutely. It sounds like a lot of fun. So if you've read the Murderbot Diaries, if you want to talk to me about what your thoughts are on Murderbot, how am I doing with my little plot predictions? Am I right? Am I completely off base? I love that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you've got anything you want to contribute, I would love to hear from you about that. And I guess in the meantime, I'm going to go off to do my next sample, do my next video, as it always is. The fun never stops, and that Kindle pile is not getting any smaller, folks. Try as I might. So, thank you for sticking around, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.